The Vorn Academy of Combat Sciences floated above the fractured world of Tlur, its hull shining gold beneath twin suns. Inside, thousands of alien cadets trained daily to become protectors of the Coalition's borders. The Vorn were large, horned, reptilian beings, built for power and precision. Their academies were sacred, their instructors legends. And into this order of disciplined warriors, the Coalition sent one human. His name was Elias Ward, a former orbital engineer turned tactical advisor. He wasn't a soldier, not by their standards. But he had earned respect during the siege of Arkan IV, where a handful of human technicians held off an invading force using improvised weapons and cunning traps. The Coalition wanted to study human tactics, so they placed Elias among the younglings, mostly adolescents, still shedding the scaled plates of childhood. At first, the cadets laughed. Humans were short, soft, and weirdly expressive. Their muscles didn't ripple like Vorn sinew, their teeth weren't serrated, and their eyes didn't glow in infrared. Elias looked like an underfed maintenance worker, carrying nothing but a data pad and an old Earth duffel. But the Academy's commander, Instructor Karin, tolerated no disrespect. "You will treat the human as one of us," she declared. "He has earned the right to stand here." Her voice carried like thunder across the hall. The younglings obeyed, outwardly. But whispers followed Elias wherever he went. The fragile one. The soft skin. The alien pet of Karin. Elias ignored them. He just observed, recorded, and quietly took notes. The beginning. On his third week, Elias was assigned to Training Sector 12, where cadets practiced hand-to-hand forms known as the Kreth Flow, a martial art derived from ancient Vorn dueling. He stood at the edge of the arena while Karin's booming commands filled the chamber. Strike. Recover. Reset. Dozens of scaled bodies moved in unison, claws slicing through air with precision. The floor trembled with each impact. Elias watched their movements, impressive, but predictable. Every sequence began and ended in the same stance. Every student moved as if choreographed. It was beautiful, but also exploitable. Later that day, when the session ended, Elias stayed behind as the younglings rested. One of them, a bright-eyed cadet named Tirla, smaller than the others, approached him curiously. "You take notes while we train," she said. "Are we failing?" Elias smiled. "No. You're perfect. That's the problem." She tilted her head. "Perfect is bad?" He chuckled softly. "In a real fight, nothing is perfect. Enemies don't follow rules. They change, adapt, trick you. Sometimes the only way to win is to do something unexpected." She frowned. "But Instructor Karin says surprise is chaos." "Chaos," Elias said quietly, "is just order we haven't learned yet." She blinked, not quite understanding, but something about his calm tone stayed with her. The next morning, Tirla gathered a few friends, other curious cadets, and met Elias by the lower gym. They wanted to learn human strategy. Elias grinned. "All right, but you'll have to forget everything you know about fighting." And so began the unofficial lessons. The middle. Elias taught them the basics of human combat logic, not just moves, but thinking patterns. He drew diagrams on the floor with chalk, explaining momentum redirection, misdirection, psychological feints. He showed them how a small creature could disable a larger one by attacking weak points, using leverage instead of brute strength. "Your people fight with power," he explained. "Mine fight with problems." They learned how to duck instead of block, how to use sound to distract, how to let the opponent's anger work against them. At first, they failed constantly. Their claws hit nothing but air as Elias sidestepped. Their roars made him grin. "Louder doesn't mean stronger," he said. "It means predictable." Weeks passed. Their lessons remained a secret. But whispers began spreading of strange new movements the younglings used during practice bouts. Then came the demonstration. Karen entered the arena one morning to find her cadets not in formation, but circling each other in silence, watching, waiting. One moved to strike, and another slipped aside, spinning low, flipping the first onto his back in a blur of motion. The instructor's tail lashed. "What is this?" she barked. Tirla stood straight, trembling but proud. "A new variant of Kreth flow, instructor." Karen narrowed her eyes. "Show me." They obeyed. What she saw shocked her. The younglings fought like shadows, fluid, unpredictable, attacking from angles no Vorn had ever used. One used the enemy's weight to pivot, another dropped low instead of leaping high. Karen halted the match mid-spin. "Who taught you that?" she demanded. For a heartbeat, the hall was silent. Then, one by one, every youngling turned and pointed toward the observation deck, where Elias stood frozen, halfway through sipping his tea. Karen's crest flared in disbelief. The human, the turning point. Elias was summoned to the command chamber. The air felt colder than usual. Karen stood at the center, flanked by senior instructors. "You interfered with official training," one barked. "You taught unauthorized forms to our students." Elias set his data pad on the table. "I taught them to survive." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Explain." He gestured to the projection screen, where he had recorded footage of their mock battles. "Your combat system assumes symmetry, equal footing, equal force. That works in the arena, but not in war. When the Turok fleets hit the outpost on Arkan for they didn't fight fair, they adapted. So did we." He looked around the room. "Humans don't win because we're stronger. We win because we learn faster while losing." The silence that followed was deep. Even Karen's breath slowed. Finally, she asked, "Do you believe this chaos you teach can be disciplined?" Elias smiled faintly. "It already is. They just needed permission to use it." She stared at him for a long moment, then, without warning, drew her training blade.
"Prove it," she said.
The battle. The cadets gathered around as their instructor faced the human in the arena. The size difference was absurd. Karen stood nearly 3 meters tall, armored in biosteel. Elias wore a plain undersuit, his only weapon a short carbon rod. When the signal sounded, Karen struck first, fast as lightning. Elias barely dodged, the blade slicing the air where his head had been. He rolled, twisted, and kicked off a wall to redirect momentum. Every motion was improvised, chaotic, but deliberate. He never tried to overpower her. He guided her strikes. To the watching younglings, it looked like madness. Karen lunged again, claws extended, but Elias dropped low, sweeping her leg out from beneath her, using her own momentum to flip her onto her back. The impact echoed through the arena. When she rose, her expression was unreadable. "Human," she said slowly, "your chaos is pattern." He bowed slightly. "So does survival." The ending. 2 days later, the Academy formally integrated adaptive flow, a hybrid combat philosophy, into the curriculum. It combined the precision of Kreth flow with human adaptability and unpredictability. The coalition military soon took notice. Within months, Elias's teachings spread across multiple species academies. The once laughed-at human had reshaped galactic combat doctrine. But for Elias, the real victory came quietly. One evening, as he prepared to leave for another posting, Tirla approached him again. "Instructor,